you've associated yourself with some very powerful people you've worked with who have been controversial, including your husband, but others as well. But it's true of Democrats, and I just have such sympathy for what you have to deal with and admiration for those of you strong enough to handle it. So talk about where the strength you have comes from, because you are dealing daily with societies and the left's desire to disrupt your life and to make it harder for you to raise your kids and harder for you to enjoy yourself. So where does the strength you display, which I find just extraordinary and admirable, where does that come from?
It's funny you say that, because there are some days, and I've always said the reason I'm doing my podcast is to be ruthlessly honest with everybody. And so this is now reported, so I don't feel like I am doxing myself, but we had to move out of our house for security reasons. The house I built for my children, that my realtor was like, oh, this is a perfect house for young kids. And I'm like, I know, I built it for my children. And we moved into a military installation for our kids' security, my husband's security, and to ensure that my husband felt safe and my kids felt safe pushing a stroller, because as any parent of a young child knows, it's wrangling to get into car seats, it's wrangling to get into strollers. You don't move quickly, you don't have fast movements. And so for our kids' security and for my husband's, we moved from our home into a military base. And that is a very sad state of affairs when, the people protecting you feel when you're safer behind a military installation, which isn't common or has ever been done before, and I think in US history. And I'm so grateful to our service members who have taken us in and treated my family so welcoming. I don't know if anyone knows this, but I'm sure military people know this, but they play Revelry at 8 a.m. every day, and the kids run outside and put their hands over their hearts. And it's such a great learning experience for what it all means and why we're all going through this. But I'd be lying if I said there weren't days when it's so hard to leave your house and we're living on top of each other and you got to go pick up winter coats. And there are things with little kids that it just drives you nuts that all of your stuff isn't in one place and we don't feel settled, right? But the only thing people took from us isn't the love for my family. It is my time. And that is something that's irreplaceable. And there are days when you have a rough day, but there are days when you say, this is worth it, because every day my husband and I are making more of a difference than those people who are protesting outside my home hope to achieve in their lifetime. It's always the gender studies professor or the people who are trans who are the ones trying to make our lives difficult. And why is that? It's because they know they're losing and we're winning. And so every day, if you go to bed knowing that you've done the best you can to forever shape our country in a productive way, then you've won.
Yeah. So I appreciate all that. And I appreciate you bringing up the house move, which I read about. I wasn't going to raise, but it broke my heart when I read it, because I've seen pictures of your home and I know people who visit your home and I know it to be a lovely home. And I'm a dad, and I just thought, man, if I had to move my son because people were threatening our lives, that's heartbreaking. But I go back to my original question. As a good podcast host, I have to remember what I asked you, which is, where did this come from? Tell me about the teenage Katie. How did you learn to be so tough? Because this is an extraordinary situation you find yourself in. Again, you've worked at the top levels of government and business, but now this is the most serious thing you've faced. And yet I watch you do it. You do it with grace and dignity and calm for yourself and your husband and your kids. Where does that come from? Is it experiences you had earlier in life? How do you do that?
I really do. I will say this, and I said this at the top of the show, is that, husband, kids make your lives better, richer, fuller, stronger, better. And my strength actually comes from Stephen. There is only one person who can survive this long in the Trump administration and let every single infighting and snipping at his heels just roll off his back. And the lesson he's taught me is don't pay it any noise, don't pay it attention, keep moving forward. And it really does come from my husband, which is just keep moving, keep going forward, and don't care. Because at the end of the day, when we sit down for dinner as a family, because we do every night at 5:30, Stephen is home to have dinner with our 3 kids, that's all that matters. It is not what they print in the New York Times or the Washington Post. It is not what they're saying on X or Blue Sky or any of the liberal things out there. It is what matters is our family. And I think that's a very important lesson for everyone out there, is that the internet is not real and the legacy media lies.
All right. Again, super interested in that answer, but I'm going to press you one more time. Is there an experience of young Katie? If I'm making the biopic.
Oh, young Katie. No.
Yeah, is there something like that? Did someone ever try to, steal your roller skates or,
no.
No?
No.
So what was it? Let me ask you this. Before you married your husband, what was the toughest moment of trial by fire that you ever faced?
I just had two loving parents who always encouraged me to do whatever I wanted to do. My mom was like, my mom always had my back. Even if I got in trouble in school, my mom was like, she is 100% correct. Lady, I think you're incorrect as the teacher. And there was many times when I believe I was definitely incorrect with various teachers, and my mom took my back and had my side. And I just absolutely remember that being a driving force was if you keep punching forward, and not to say you never apologize. Of course, you apologize when you're wrong and if you've hurt someone's feelings. But if you always are determined and bound what you're going to do, you will make a difference and make a change. And so, I mean, in high school, for example, I think I graduated a couple of years early, and I did mostly online school because I thought I was smarter than the teachers. And that's just kind of who I am, is I'm hard charging.
If you're a homeowner in America, you need to listen to this. The FBI is warning about a type of real estate fraud on the rise called title theft, and your equity is the target. Here's how it works. Criminals forge your signature on just a single document, then use a fake notary stamp and file the document with the county. Just like that, on record, they own your home. Using your ownership, they can take out loans against your equity or even sell your property. And you won't know about any of this until foreclosure or collection notices show up in the mail. That's why I'm partnering with Home Title Lock, so you can protect your equity and find out today, right now, if you're already a victim. Use my promo code MARK at HometitleLock.com, and you'll get a free title history report and a free trial of their $1 million triple lock protection. That's 24/7 monitoring of your title records, urgent alerts to any changes, and if fraud does occur, their US-based restoration team will spend up to $1 million to fix it. Don't be a victim. Protect your equity today. That's HometitleLock.com, promo code MARK.